Hey, Ben England here, coming back to talk with you now about many more details associated with this Captain Hawk opportunity in Playa El Amatal in El Salvador. I think this is a really strong opportunity. In fact, I'll talk with you about the value in terms of the investment compared to the investment opportunity that I confronted when I purchased my ranch, and you'll see that in my opinion, we're basically talking about the equivalence of 2022 or 2023 dollars in terms of purchasing the property. Captain Hawk is a property that's actually made up of 3 parcels. There's one in the front, which is beach access, and then there's 2 that are complete undeveloped lots, which are really the future, I think, the direction of the growth of the property. The front portion of the property already has existing operating amenities, which include 4 rental bungalows. These are 4 different huts, 4 huts with thatch roof and thatch siding, but they do have air conditioning in each one. With beds on the inside. There's a 2-unit suite motel on the property with an upper and a lower suite with their own bathrooms, of course. There's a beachfront bar and a grill. There's a retail store. There's a pool, and then 200 feet of Pacific Ocean front direct access to the beach for those that own or are using the property. I like the fact that it's already grossing money. About $1,000 a week it grosses, which is about a $50,000 annual run rate of the existing businesses on the property, which are all on the front end. Of course, there's nothing in the back end, which you've seen probably with the pictures. That revenue it's broken up from 3 different basic sources. Day passes on the beach, and they sell the opportunity for each person to come to the beach and use the property for a fee. And about 50% of the revenue comes from the day passes each week. And then people are there, they start using the restaurant, the bar, and of course they buy things in the store. I would say the store use is probably pretty low. Overnight stays, pretty low, only about 10% is what's estimated. And that means there's a lot of upside once this property is converted into something where people can come and want to come. I like the 2 back lots are the larger 2 pieces of the entire property. It's really the development opportunity, and it's what I see in the future. What I think we should be doing with it is developing a boutique hotel, a spa and a wellness facility there, and a much upgraded pool and the waterworks in the on the front lot. But really, the investors are going to determine, the owners will determine what we do with it. But there's a lot of opportunity here, I think, on this property because of those 2 back lots. So, my feeling is it really sort of the sky's the limit as to what we want to do. So, my feeling is it so on the right-hand side there, you can see that sort of that triangular piece of property, which is the property, and it pushes its way back, and the 2 lots that are in the back, and then just some ideas of what we can see that becoming in the future. I hired an architect and engineer that are doing some development work for me on another piece of property, another parcel. They've been great in working with, very economical. And they've put together about 7 concepts. I picked 3 of them to put here. I can give you the others to look at. And I try to give you a variety in terms of investment profile. The first one here is the Balinese Sanctuary Experience. Very tropical in terms of its inspiration with some Balinese type of architecture. It's the lifestyle-driven travelers who we're looking for, couples, wellness-oriented guests seeking a quiet, serene, nature-integrated escape. With a place, and this place, of course, the desire is to keep it very authentic in terms of the El Salvadorian culture here on the beach. The investment profile for this is actually quite efficient and cost-conscious, and so this is not that expensive in terms of the opportunity that it presents. The next concept is a Ryokan Serenity Retreat. So this is a little bit more in terms of it's a little more Japanese style. This is an immersive Japanese-inspired sanctuary. It's something that you don't see here. In fact, my other property, these guys are designing for me a Santorini-style, Greek-style property that you don't see here. So I like bringing other culture in terms of architecture while we still try to maintain as much authenticity as we can to the property. The target guests here are luxury travelers seeking wellness, mindfulness, culturally rich experiences. So this is going to be more expensive. The investment profile in terms of building and developing is a high investment driven by specialized craftsmanship and premium materials because of the need to be as true as we can to the Japanese-inspired architecture. The third concept is a Tulum Eco Bohemian Retreat. This is a low investment profile, very simple construction methods and natural materials. It's a serene sort of barefoot luxury type of atmosphere. So this is very beachy, except it's still going to be very jungle, very tropical. There's a lot of greenery that we can maintain and keep. This is going to be cost-efficient construction. It's not very expensive, and so this is equally a good opportunity, a good possibility. Now, I mentioned Rancho Isabela, so I'm going to do a little comparison here. So Captain Hawk in size is a little bit over a half an acre. The sale price is $850,000, and it's throwing off about $50,000 a year now in terms of revenue. And then you compare that to Rancho Isabela. I bought it in August 2022. It's about a little more than a quarter acre. It might be a third. I paid $185,000 for it, which is obviously extremely cheap. I put $150,000 into it, which is about $335 or so, and it generates about $50,000 a year now. And that's only at 40% occupancy, because I actually use this both as an Airbnb, but also for personal use. But also, if you do the math, it turns out that the Captain Hawk property is just about 2022 or 2023 prices. Now, I mentioned timeline. Phase one is supposed to be, we need to accomplish by July of this year, July 2026, and so I'm raising money now. $50,000 is already paid. I put it in. We're doing a $900,000 capital raise in order to deal with the purchase money, as well as some initial improvements for existing operations and fees that are associated with the transaction, and then some engineering and architectural designs once we get to the point where there's some agreement among investors whether we want to do that right away, we want to wait. We also have options of carving off one of those back lots and selling it. We're not married to anything here. I just believe it makes the most sense to go ahead and use that property back there. Phase two would be an additional raise. We would need to raise more money in order to develop any of these concepts. My expectation is that we're going to be able to develop a model where initial investors are going to be able to maintain premium value with respect to their shares, while new investors coming in would have a different share class, which is still going to be valuable, but it's not going to dilute the initial investors on the purchase side. And of course, all of us can continue to invest in phase two. The goal here would be to optimize the gross income and the planning for the water features and the backlots and doing the backlot development. We're going to do upgrades, of course, to the store and the beachfront bar and the grill in the front. In order to create some optimization, do marketing in order to fill that hotel and to fill these bungalows with a much higher occupancy rate, which is going to drive substantially more revenue. Investors are going to be gaining membership interest proportional to the capital that they put into the fund, and those would be basically shares in a U.S. LLC, and you would have proportional interest. Then the LLC essentially will own an El Salvadoran operating company, and the property will be purchased by that El Salvadoran company. And this is minimizing primarily exposure to El Salvador tax and liabilities. The investments are being held in U.S. accounts, so your money would go into a U.S. account unless all of the raise is achieved. If all the raise is achieved, there is a 4% management fee that I would receive as a project manager, and I would receive that in two ways: half of it in shares and half of it in cash. But none of that comes out unless the money is achieved and the property is actually purchased. If the raise is unachieved, then there will be an expense fee, and your money will be returned back to you minus that expense fee. How to invest? Well, you contact me directly, WhatsApp or email. I interview every prospective investor personally. I do that in order to remain in the area of SEC. It has substantially less regulatory structure. That requires me to have personal, professional relationship or knowledge with respect to the investor. There's a Google form that has to be completed, which establishes that relationship for what's called 506B eligibility, and then we have a full offering document which will come to you once we have alignment, and there's a subscription agreement, operating agreement. We would minimally need $50,000 in order to participate, and then there would be incremental pieces. You could buy additional increments of $25,000 after that, so you could 50 or 75 or 100. And that way, I know we're getting people in that are committed to it. My question is, can you see yourself here? I encourage you to come down, stay at my place. I can bring you more and more video of the place. I can show you much more of the beach. I can show you the other ranches that are here. This basically is a line on the beach that's just full of primarily rental ranches, and Captain Hawk is on the very end. So this is how you get a hold of me. Please take note of the important notice on the bottom here of this slide, and we are looking forward to the opportunity to take next steps. So please reach out to me and let's talk.